State management can be quite tricky sometimes, so in this video we're going to learn how we can make a project which has no state management solution or no state whatsoever, and we're going to then incorporate MobX into this. So as we can see in this project, if we try to add something to this cart, we can see that nothing changes and we just have a initial value or product in this cart. So what we will actually do is just incorporate MobX to this, make everything work, and this project is just a template for a state management like training. So you can actually go ahead and go to the description and you will see a link to this project which you can download if you want to. And you can go with me if that's what you want, or else you can just follow. And I just want to have a special thanks to Shannon Galloway, which is supporting me on Patreon. So if you would like to support me or anything like that, check out the description, leave a comment, leave a like, and let's just get into it. So the way this project is structured is that you have this to do, which we are just going to follow one by one. The first thing we have to do is to define what packages or state management solution we want to. So in this case, we're going to use MobX. And this may change if you're watching this later, but we're going to use the latest one as of now. We're going to use MobX, Flutter MobX, and also provider for passing down the values in the widget tree. Then for the dev dependencies, we're going to have a build runner and MobX codegen. And this is just so we can generate the different files we are using MobX on, or the store on. And I will explain this as we go. So I'm just going to say that, so we are actually fetching the packages. And then we can go ahead and go to the cart, or the first step. So as we can see, we have this to do, add state management with cart of products. So to define this first off, we have to say that this class is not going to be used in normal class anymore. With MobX, we're going to define our classes as abstract. And we're going to make this private. Then we're going to use the mixin of store. This is going to be read off now, as of now, because we have not generated a file. So we have to also declare first a public class, so we can actually get the values of the generated file. And also we have to have a part which is going to generate the file or the data too. So first off, let's define the class, which is just going to be cart. And then we're going to define a part. So what I mean with part is that this file we are in now is called cart.dart. The generated file we're going to create is going to be called cart.g.dart. And now I did have it running, so let's just clear this. So to get this working, or to generate the file, is that we're going to use this command right here. Flutter packages pub run build runner watch. You can also use build instead of watch if you just want to build one time. I actually wanted to update each time we press the save button. So as this is loading, it's going to then generate the file. So now if we go ahead and actually try to do something, as of now we don't have anything in this class, but we're going to define that right now. So first off, we're going to have these values. So I'm just going to import this. We can actually see it. And I'm going to save. So this is then building the generated file, and now we can see the error disappears. So what I did was that we have this annotation called observable, and this is something that MobX uses, so we can actually notify the widget then in the build tree that this is going to be rebuilt. This observable list is of type product, and that's something that I have already defined for you in this template project. We're going to have it as private because we're going to change this or modify this with methods, and then just having a getter so we can get that cart content. We're going to have one more thing that's pretty important just for this example. So what I'm going to do in this project is that even though we're adding multiple, let's say Mario games, the same item will be added multiple times in this cart content. So we have to have a way of getting the unique products. So for example, instead of having 10 Mario games displayed in a list, we're going to have one Mario game with a quantity of 10, for example. So we'll just have a computed variable first. And what this computed does is that this is just a way of saying that we want to have a derived state of a value, or if I can explain it like that. So what I mean by that is that we're going to define a new variable, which is called unique product. And this is derived from our cart content. So we're just going to create pretty much a new list. We're going to have the cart content as a list of that, making toSet, and toSet is just a fast way of getting only the unique products, and then use toList again. So we have a list of the unique products. So even if we have 10 Mario games, these unique products will only display one of them, if that makes sense. So let's save that. Now we should have enough, and we can go to step 2, which is just adding provider for the cart. So if I just remove this, and we can start by writing the provider. So what I did is there was cut it out to write provider. This provider will have a type of cart, and just be aware that you have to type the types or else you will have a bad time. So I'm just going to import this. And inside here, we're going to define the builder, which the context we don't care about, and we're going to instantiate our cart object. Then for the dispose, don't care about the context, and we are going to take the cart object and take the cart.dispose. So this dispose method actually comes from this store right here. So we can actually override it in this class, and that's something we're going to do later as well. So there we go, and then we're going to have a child, which is then going to contain a material app. So this is going to then, of course, crash in this example. I will just rerun this, and we can go on. So the reason we have to reload or restart is because we actually changed the material app, and we're going to have the provider provide a new object. So we have to restart because that's not in the state. We're going to just go ahead and go to the next step right away, as this is building, which is add provider to make a add to cart function. So the way we're going to do this is that we're going to get the provider cart. So we use provider to provide a cart. So now we can actually use this snippet right here, or this code right here. And this will pretty much use provider and look for that cart object, because we define that in the type right here. And we're going to, of course, set the listen to false. And this is pretty important in this case, because we're not going to use provider to keep a provider to see the state. We're just going to use MobX for that. So we're going to set that to false, and then we're going to say that we want to call cart, and then we're going to say define a function called add to cart, for example, and we're just going to pass this product. So of course this add to cart doesn't exist, so let's go ahead in cart in the class and define that. So when you define methods in MobX, you're going to use the action annotation, and with that we can then define our function and open that up. So this function is going to take a parameter of product, and this is going to be pretty simple. We're just going to take the private part content or cart content, and you just add that product in there. So we cannot actually see anything in the state, but as of now we're actually adding those into the cart, and you can see that I tapped Mario a bunch of times, so later we will see that those are in there as well. I will just add some Dart. There we go, and that should be the step for number 3. So let's go ahead and go to number 4, add provider to cart again, and we're just going to actually go back, and I will just copy this, and we're going to define that, import the dependencies or libraries, and we're going to of course set that to false again. Just make sure that you're using that in this example. And let's go ahead and go to number 5. So this one is going to be a bit more complex because now we're actually going to display something in the widget tree. So the cart icon button is this cart button up here at the top, and we want to display the number of products we have in this red circle. As of now, we just have a static 1. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to that in the other project. And there we go. And we're going to wrap this text in a observer. So I'm just going to cut this out, and we're going to use a observer widget. And as you can see, this observer widget comes from the Flutter MobX library. And we're going to define the builder. And I'm just going to use a arrow function. You can open this up in brackets and then use return if you want to. And I'm just going to use a center widget. The center widget, of course, has a child. I'm just going to save that so it updates. So we can still see that we only have 1, but now we actually have access, or we don't have access as of now, but we have the cart, which we defined up here. And this observer will be notified when the changes is happening to that cart. So let's just take the cart content and not the unique content, so just all of the products. And then just type length. So if we save that now, we can see that we have a length of 12. And that's because I added a bunch of Mario games and Dart. So now we can actually remove these 2. And that should be enough for number 5. So let's go ahead and go to number 6. Add provider for cart. I will go back, copy, and go to that again. We're going to add that, import again. And we're going to go ahead and go to number 7, I believe it was. So this is in the cart app bar. And I'm going to go to the same code here so I don't do too many mistakes. So what we're going to do now is actually when we open this one, we want to display the actual products. So as of now, we just have 1 fake product, and we're going to display the actual ones. So to do that, we're going to have the list view. And this list view is not going to use children of 1 cart tile. So we're just going to cut that out. We're going to have a list.generate. So in this list.generate, we're going to call the cart that we got with provider. And then we're going to take the unique products. We're going to then take the length. And with the generator, we're going to define a index. And going to open that up like that. So now we're actually not using the index, but we're just going to do that right now. So we'll take final product. So this will just loop through pretty much, or generate a list with all of the unique products. We're getting the index for each product in this list. We're just going to set these to cart.unique products at index. And that should give us the product. Let's go ahead and go to the next step. So the next step, we're going to define that what are we going to display in each tile of this list view. So we're going to use return inside here, and we will define a observer, because with observer, we are going to change the state. We're going to type builder. We don't care about the context. And we can open that up as well. Like that. We're going to now define the quantity. So you can see that we now have all the unique products, but we also want to define the quantity. So to do that, we're just going to inside or just above this observe or builder, we're going to write final quantity cart.getProductQuantity. And this method doesn't exist, so just bear with me. This method will just simply get the quantity for each product, and we're going to have a method for that. And if this quantity is more than 0, we're going to return this cart tile with the quantity. If not, we actually don't need, yeah. And if not, we're just going to return a sized box. So now let's go ahead and define this quantity. So let's go ahead and go to the cart and define a, let's see, define a getter for that, or a function at least. So this function, let's put this right here, is going to have just be a normal function. So we're going to, I actually will just copy this so we don't spend too much time, and I will explain this. So we're going to have a function which will return a int, which is the quantity. We're going to pass in a product. This product will just take the list we have, so the cart content, which has all of the items, and we'll just do a simple where, which just finds all of the products which are equal to the product we passed in. Then we'll just take length. So that should be enough. Now we can go back to here. So I of course put this in the wrong spot. This is going to be inside here instead. There we go. So now if we save this, we have this list representing the values that we have, and the quantity is the one that we want. So that should be enough here. Now we can go ahead and go to the next step, which is number 8. Show cart value and freight cost if any. So this one is a bit more complicated, but we will get through that. So what we're going to do is that we're going to actually remove this. So the thing that we want to do is that we want to display the total value of all of this. We're also going to have a reaction, which is a way of listening to values, and then just change depending of if we have more than 10 products. And we're going to add some freight on that. So let's just remove this text here. We're going to have the raised button, and we're going to actually, yeah, let's type that out. So we're going to have the observer. This is going to have the builder, and the builder has no context in this example. And we're going to return a row. Let's just add a comma there. This row is going to have some children, and for the first child we're going to have a text. The value of this is going to have, see if I can remember how to type this out. We're going to have a cart.cart value, which doesn't exist yet, but we're going to create that. And we're going to also add some styling, and the styling is also set up for you. We're going to have a if. So below this text, this may be a bit bad formatted, we're going to have this if. So this if is going to check our freight, which we don't have. We're going to create that. If this freight is not equal to null, we will also add this text right beside it with the total freight. So that should be enough. So let's go ahead and create the cart value and also the freight. And let's go ahead and go with the cart value first. And this is going to be a computed variable because we will have this as a counter or derived of the cart content. So as you can see here, we are going to have a getter of cart value, observable list of cart content, and this is just going to use the fold method, which in simple terms will just loop through all of the items, add the total of value that they have in them. And this will just add that and then return this as a double. Then we needed one more thing, which was the freight. So the freight is a bit more complicated, but we will get there as well. So below this observable, we're going to add another observable with a getter. This will just be the freight. And as you can see, this is at the moment 0. And we don't want to explicitly list, like each time we add a product, we want to check if there is 10 products and then add like fry to that. We want it to be reactive. So we're going to define a constructor. And I believe it's probably simpler if I paste this in. So let's just create this cart constructor. And we're going to define a reaction. So what a reaction does is that it will react to a value. So here we say that we want to listen to the length of the cart content. And when that changes, we're going to get the length. I'm just going to call that cart item count. And then we can then do our computation or our calculations on that. So I'm just going to check that if cart content is more than or equal to 10 and we don't have any freight, then we're going to set our freight to 20. If not, then we're just going to reset that. So one more thing that we have to be aware of is that if we're going to dispose of this cart, we have to be aware that this reaction will not be disposed of itself. So we're actually going to create a function, and this can be a bit confusing for some in the beginning. I'm probably going to add a better name for this when we push this up. But we're going to take this function variable or function, and we're going to set that equal to the reaction. The reason because we're doing this is that we're going to call this function when we want to dispose of this reaction. So if we scroll down at the bottom, I'm just going to write dispose, and this will override the dispose method. And here we can call this method. So this will say that when we dispose of this cart, we are going to dispose of this reaction as well. Just be aware of that. That's why I made it private. So we can't call this from anywhere else. So that should be enough. So if we save that, we can see that this value is now represented. And if we also restart, because the reaction is in the constructor, so we have to actually restart. And when we restart, and we can see that if I add 5 values, we don't have any freight. And then if I add 10 values, we have freight. So we didn't have to actually explicitly say in a method that we're going to do this when. We're just going to listen to it, if that makes sense. Now we're going to go to step 7, which is remove product quantity and placeholders. And this was because we didn't have any state before. So I'm just going to remove that. And then we're going to be delete on click. So make an empty cart function. So this will pretty much be this delete button right here. And this is in the cart app bar. And I'm just going to see, there we go. So what we're going to do here is that first off, we're going to get the cart. So let's just write final cart is equal provider dot off. Define the type again, which is cart, and then context and listen to false. Then we can take and remove that, and we're going to just call cart.empty cart. And let's just define that method really quickly. Let's go, and we're going to just go to the cart right here, and we're going to just define a very, very simple action. This action is just being taking the list and then just typing clear. So if we just save that and just press on this trash can, we can see that everything is removed. So that is good. And we have some values or things that are not used. So let's just remove that. So then we're going to declare the cart variable. And this is in, let's just remove this. This is in the cart list tile. And we're just going to define or declare our cart variable. So let's just type cart. I'm just going to remove that. And here we're going to use did change dependency to then get the cart. And this is just another way of getting using provider to get a value or a provided object. We can do this in the build, but then we would have to pass that around. So now we're just going to have a variable instead. Like that. Let's go to step 13. And this is just, we're going to, if we go and let's say we have some products, we want to be able to swipe them away and then everything will be updated, because as of now, this actually don't remove. So we're going to go to tile on swipe. We're going to write cart and then just remove all from cart, and we're going to pass in a product. Before I implement that, we're also going to make this one to change the product quantity. So for example, if I tap this one, we can then change the quantity, which doesn't work as of now. So let's just remove this and type cart.change quantity. And this is just going to take the widget.product because we have that as a widget object also, and then the quantity. And that's something you have right here. So that should be enough. So now we can go to the cart and we can define those two methods. So the change quantity and also the remove all from cart. And let's see if I can find them. Going to have the change quantity, and this is a bit complicated, so I will paste that in and then explain it as we go. And we're going to have the remove product as well. So first off, we have a remove product, and this will just take a product so we can then remove it. Because I don't think, yeah, we didn't have that. So this will just take the list and then remove a product. And this change quantity will take a product and also the quantity. So if we would see here, we can see that we are having a 3 here. So this will be 3 minus, let's say we are passing, we say we want to have it to 1. So this would be 1 minus 3. And then we are just going to have a while to check the difference. And if we have a difference higher than 0, we're going to add to the product cart or add to the cart. Change the difference, and in the else if statement we're going to do the exact opposite. We're going to have one more function now, which is just the remove all from cart. This will pass in the product and we'll use the remove where on the cart content. So if we save this now, we can see that we can add some product. We can then change the quantity, and that everything is updated as it should. We can then swipe that away to see that it updates. And of course, on the next step, if you want to continue this, if you want to do pull requests, whatever you want to do, that's up to you. I just wanted to create this template for you so you can try it out and see what you want to do. If you like this video, please let me know by liking and subscribing to the channel. It really means a lot. Check out the description for any information. I don't know, whatever I post in there. And I will see you in the next one. And also before I go, be sure to check out Patreon. It really supports me. It really helps me create these videos. They take quite a lot of time to actually do. But enough of that, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.